Hold up, is that a pizza or a swimming pool? This pizza costs $3,500. The electricity bill to bake one? $8,000 per month. Welcome to the most insane food factory on planet Earth. This monster is 10 feet wide. That's wider than a pickup truck. The cheese alone? 200 pounds. That's a full-grown man made entirely of mozzarella. The pepperoni slices are 6 inches across, bigger than your face. And the whole thing weighs 400 pounds. That's a grand piano made of pizza, just sitting there. But here's what's absolutely bonkers. They make these using the exact same techniques as Domino's. Same dough tossing, same wood-fired oven, same hand-placed toppings, just scaled up to levels that shouldn't be physically possible. Hand-stretched dough? Check. But it takes 4 people working like synchronized swimmers. Fresh mozzarella? Check. But they use 4 50-pound bags. That's 200 pounds of cheese for one pizza. So how do you make a pizza so big it needs a forklift to move it? How do you cook the center without incinerating the edges? And how the heck do you slice something that weighs as much as 2 linebackers? Stick around, because what you're about to see will blow your mind. This is the giant pizza factory. Step 1. Create 250 pounds of pizza dough without tearing it into a million pieces. This industrial mixer, it's eating 150 pounds of flour. That's 30 of those 5-pound bags from Walmart for one pizza. Mixing time, 45 minutes. Not the 10 minutes your local pizza place uses. 45 full minutes. Why so long? Because when you're mixing 250 pounds of dough, if you rush it, the center stays bone dry while the edges turn to mush. And those dry spots, they're landmines. Touch them when stretching, the whole thing explodes. Look at this mixer. It's barely moving, slower than a sloth on sedatives, but it's hydrating every single molecule of flour perfectly. Rush this, you just flushed $200 in ingredients down the toilet. Once mixed, the dough rests for 72 hours. That's 3 full days. Your local pizza joint, 24 hours. These guys triple it. Why? Because at this scale, you need maximum gluten strength. Without it, the dough collapses under its own weight like a deflated bouncy castle. But here's the problem. A 250-pound dough ball ferments unevenly. The center ferments slower than the outside. The solution? They flip it every 12 hours, like rotisserie chicken. But it's bread, and it weighs as much as a refrigerator. After 72 hours, time to stretch, and you cannot hand-toss 250 pounds of dough. Your arms would rip off your body. So they built a 12-foot stretching table. 4 workers, cardinal directions, perfect synchronization. Pull too hard, shred. Pull unevenly, you get a lopsided disaster that looks like Florida. This takes 20 minutes. They're pulling gently, letting the gluten relax. Rush it, the dough snaps back like a rubber band from hell. Watch this. See that? You can see light passing through the dough. That's not magic. That's perfect gluten development. The measurement is critical. Center thickness 0.75 inches. Outer crust 1.5 inches. Why the difference? The center has 200 pounds of toppings trying to rip through it. The thick edge acts as a structural support beam, like the Hoover Dam, but for pizza. Final size, 10 feet 3 inches across. Those extra 3 inches, that's the shrinkage during cooking. They've made this so many times, they know exactly how much it contracts. Now for the sauce. And when your pizza is 10 feet wide, you don't use a ladle. You use a paint roller. I'm not kidding, a professional paint roller. Brand new, food grade, never touched actual paint. But it's the exact same tool from Home Depot. The sauce, 15 gallons. That's enough tomato sauce to fill a mop bucket. And it's not ragu from a jar. San Marzano tomatoes, crushed by hand. The tomatoes alone cost $200. The roller spreads in smooth, even strokes. Too much in one spot, the dough gets soggy and tears. Too little, it burns to charcoal. Application time, 8 minutes, like painting the Sistine Chapel, but the ceiling is bread and the paint is tomatoes. Now the cheese, 200 pounds of fresh mozzarella, not the pre-shredded stuff, not the rubber blocks, fresh mozzarella, the kind that comes in water bags and costs a fortune. Why fresh? Because at this scale, pre-shredded cheese doesn't melt evenly. The anti-caking powder creates a chalky disaster. 4 bags of 50 pounds for one pizza. That's $800 in cheese alone. Application method? By hand. There's no machine that can evenly scatter 200 pounds of cheese, so workers grab handfuls and throw it like they're feeding pigeons in Central Park, except the pigeons are pizza and the birdseed is mozzarella. This takes 15 minutes. 15 minutes of yeeting cheese. But we're not done. This isn't just a cheese pizza. These pepperoni slices are 6 inches across. Normal pepperoni, 2 inches. Why so huge? Because normal-sized pepperoni on a 10-foot pizza looks like confetti at a sad party. You'd need 5,000 slices to cover it. Instead, 200 giant slices, hand-placed in a spiral pattern from center outward. And here's why the pattern matters. Pepperoni cups when it cooks. The edges curl up, creating grease pools. Random placement, those pools create hot spots that ignite. Spiral arrangement, the grease flows outward for even cooking. The worker placing pepperoni is doing pizza geometry, calculating angles, spacing, coverage. It's art and math having a delicious baby. Total topping time, 45 minutes. Most pizza places make and cook a pizza in 10 minutes total. This is just the toppings. Now comes the dangerous part, moving 400 pounds of raw ingredients without destroying everything. The peel designed for this is genuinely ridiculous. 11 feet long, 5 feet wide, reinforced aluminum with carbon fiber ribbing, weighs 50 pounds empty. 3 workers operate it like paramedics with a stretcher. They slide it under the pizza, which weighs 400 pounds, and lift. The technique is critical. Lift from the center, the edges droop and toppings slide off like an avalanche. Lift from the edge, the center sags and tears clean through. It's like those trust fall exercises at corporate retreats, except the person weighs 400 pounds and is made of dough and cheese and costs $800 in ingredients. They have 90 seconds to get this into the oven. After that, the dough absorbs moisture from the sauce and becomes too soft to move. Game over. Start from scratch. The oven entrance is 8 feet tall and 12 feet wide. The peel slides on stainless steel rails like a surgical table. At the exact right moment, they pull the peel back while the pizza slides forward onto the rotating stone floor. One wrong motion, the pizza folds, tears, or dumps all 200 pounds of toppings into a smoking pile of failure.
This time, perfect execution. Now, about this oven. Calling it an oven is like calling Mount Everest a hill. Wood-fired, running at 850 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot enough to melt aluminum. The floor rotates, one full rotation every 3 minutes, like a slow-motion merry-go-round made of fire. But here's the engineering miracle. 6 temperature zones controlled independently. The center runs cooler than the edges. Why? The center has 200 pounds of toppings creating insulation. The edges have less coverage and need less direct heat to avoid turning into charcoal frisbees. Cook time? 18 minutes. That's 12 times longer than a normal pizza. During these 18 minutes, chemistry is happening. The Maillard reaction creates that golden brown color and complex flavor. The cheese moisture boils at 212 degrees, creating steam that keeps it melty. The pepperoni fat renders at 300 degrees, creating those crispy edges. The dough? The starches gelatinize, proteins coagulate, CO2 bubbles expand. It's not cooking, it's orchestrated chemistry at 850 degrees. At 12 minutes, watch the cheese. See it go from white to golden? That's caramelization. That's flavor being born. At 15 minutes, pepperoni edges start to crisp and curl. Those crispy edges? Pure rendered fat that's been fried. It's meat candy. At 17 minutes, the crust develops leopard spotting, those black spots where sugars have caramelized to light charring. That's where flavor lives. At exactly 18 minutes, done. The workers reverse the process. Slide peel in, tilt, scoop under pizza, pull back out. Smooth. Perfect. No disasters. The pizza moves to a cooling table with airflow from underneath. Cool too fast, soggy crust from trapped steam. Too slow, carryover heat keeps cooking and you get overcooked leather. Cooling time, 8 minutes. Internal temperature drops from 200 to 145 degrees, the perfect eating temperature where cheese is melty but won't burn your mouth off. Now, here's where it gets interesting. You might be thinking, why don't they just slice it now? Because you can't. This 400-pound pizza needs to travel, and if you slice it now, those 24 pieces will slide around inside the transport box like a jigsaw puzzle from hell. They'd arrive scrambled. So the pizza stays whole, uncut, ready for transport. But before it leaves, let's talk about what makes this pizza actually taste good. According to the master pizzaiolo who spent 35 years perfecting his craft, size doesn't change flavor, it changes technique. Same ingredients, same ratios, same cooking principles, just scaled correctly. The dough gets tested by feel. Press with fingers, checking for fermentation bubbles and gluten development. Too dense, not enough fermentation. Too loose, over-fermented, garbage. The sauce gets tasted every single batch. Summer tomatoes are sweeter naturally, needs less salt. Winter tomatoes are more acidic, needs sugar to balance. The cheese melt gets monitored. Perfect mozzarella should stretch about 8 inches before breaking. Too much moisture, too much moisture. Too little, not enough fat, wrong. The hardest part isn't making it big, it's keeping it authentic. Every shortcut tastes like a shortcut. There are no secrets, just obsessive attention to detail. The physics were solved by a food scientist with a PhD from Cornell. Her research? Heat transfer and moisture distribution in baked goods at massive scale. The biggest challenge? Even cooking. When you have 10 feet of pizza, the center is furthest from the oven walls. It receives less radiant heat. Physics hates giant pizza. Her solution? The rotating floor plus temperature zones. The zone calibration ensures proper heat delivery regardless of position. She tested 47 different configurations. That's 47 giant pizzas made purely for testing. The cost? $35,000 in ingredients just to figure out the math. She also solved the moisture problem. In a normal pizza, moisture evaporates easily. Small surface area, hot oven, simple. In a 10-foot pizza, the center stays wetter than the edges. If left alone, you get soggy center syndrome. Nobody wants that. Her solution? Adjust the sauce hydration based on pizza geography. The center gets slightly less water in the sauce. The edges get slightly more. These compensates for uneven evaporation during cooking. The result? An evenly crispy crust from center to edge. Perfect every single time. Now comes the logistical nightmare, getting this 400-pound masterpiece to its destination without destroying it. Transport requires serious engineering. Custom-built insulated boxes, each one is basically a food-safe coffin designed to maintain exactly 145 degrees during transport.
The interior has adjustable supports preventing the pizza from sliding around and destroying itself during turns, bumps, and sudden stops. The exterior has handles for 4-person carrying, like pallbearers, but for pizza. Loading this thing into the box takes 4 people and 15 minutes. They use the same peel technique. Slide under, lift together, lower into box. One wrong move and $3,500 slides onto the floor. Then it goes into a climate-controlled van. Not refrigerated, that would make it cold. Climate-controlled at 145 degrees. A warm van driving around the city with pizza inside. Delivery radius? 50 miles maximum. Beyond that, quality degrades. You can go further, but the master pizzaiolo refuses to let subpar pizza leave the factory. The van driver has one job: drive smoothly. No sudden stops, no aggressive turns, no potholes if possible. That pizza is worth more than the van. Transport cost? $800 just to drive the pizza. Where do these monsters end up? Corporate events mostly. Tech companies celebrating product launches, sports teams after championship wins. One was ordered for a wedding serving 500 guests. One pizza. The record holder? A tech conference. 2,000 attendees. They served quarter slices as appetizers. One pizza, 2,000 people. Everyone got a piece. Total cost for the customer? $3,500 per pizza plus $800 delivery. That's $4,300 for a single pizza. For comparison, feeding the same number of people with normal pizzas costs about $2,800. So the giant pizza is almost double the price. But the spectacle, the Instagram moments, the fact that people will talk about this for years, priceless. When the van arrives, the real show begins. They unload the box with 4 people, set it on a wheeled cart, roll it to the event space. Then comes the tool nobody expected, that 11-foot cutting blade transported in a protective case like it's a katana. Setup takes 20 minutes. The cutting board alone weighs 80 pounds and needs to be assembled on site. Then the moment everyone's been waiting for. The box opens, steam escapes. The smell of wood-fired pizza floods the room. And there it is, 10 feet of perfect pizza. Cheese still melty, crust golden with leopard spots, pepperoni cups filled with grease. Pristine. The crowd gathers, phones come out, everyone's recording, because this moment, this is content gold. The master pizzaiolo positions the blade at the center. The first cut. The blade drops. Clean, smooth. The sound is satisfying, that perfect crunch of crispy crust giving way. He makes 12 cuts radiating from the center like a pizza compass. Each cut perfect, each cut creating 2 slices. 24 perfect slices, each one the size of a regular large pizza from Domino's. Kids stare wide-eyed. Adults pull out measuring tapes verifying it's actually 10 feet. Someone always asks, is this real? The answer depends on who you ask. The ingredients? Real. The techniques? Real. The physics and chemistry? Absolutely real. Every principle shown, the gluten development, the Maillard reaction, the temperature zones, the moisture distribution, these are actual food science principles used by professional pizzaiolos every single day. The 72-hour fermentation, that's traditional Neapolitan technique. The rotating oven floor, borrowed from commercial bread bakeries. The independent temperature zones, borrowed from industrial food production. The dedication to craft, the attention to detail, the obsession with getting every element perfect, that's what separates good pizza from great pizza at any scale. But here's something interesting. Nobody's actually built this factory yet. Every year, pizzas get bigger. Someone in California made an 8-foot pizza. Someone in Italy made a 9-foot pizza for a world record attempt. The technology exists. The techniques are proven. The math works. The question isn't, can you build a factory that makes 10-foot pizzas? The question is, who's going to be the first billionaire crazy enough to actually do it? Because make no mistake, when someone finally builds this, the internet will lose its mind. The first video of a real 10-foot pizza will get 100 million views in a week. The factory will have a waiting list for tours. The pizzas will sell out months in advance. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And here's the truth. What you just watched was created using artificial intelligence. Every scene, every impossible moment, generated to explore what if we actually did this. The science is real. The passion is real. The possibility is real. This was a journey into what happens when you take something beloved and ask, what if we made it ridiculously, impossibly, magnificently giant? Thanks for watching, and remember, somewhere, someone's already designing the blueprint.